you fools.
Not today, Gandalf. Stay with me, and no one needs to die. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my very first video. Today we are going to ask the question, can you beat The Lord of the Rings, The Battle for Middle-earth 1 without losing a single unit? The rules. First, no unit that I control can die, otherwise I have to reload. This includes single soldier deaths from a battalion. Second, summons like the undead army die when they expire, but a fair game if I beat the mission before they despawn. Third, the campaign will be completed on hard difficulty, on patch 106, because the newest patch 2.22 is a challenge of its own. Maybe in a future video, but no promises. Fourth, allied units must be saved if possible, but only as far as it's feasible. Fifth, bugs, glitches and exploits are allowed, but only if necessary. So let's jump right into action. The first mission of this campaign is the Mines of Moria. It is a simple hero mission and works as a tutorial for hero and army control. Select a heal spell with your first spell point so you can heal if needed. Pretty obvious, huh? Hopefully I don't screw up and say heal the wrong person. That would be terrible. So, with such an easy mission, you would think there's not much to talk about. And there really isn't, except that I forgot a little hobbit named Pippin. Whoops, that escalated quickly. But after some time, I realized that I only had 3 hobbits, and like your mom always tells you, 4 hobbits are better than 3. Or maybe it's just me. After a happy reunion, the Fellowship made their way deeper into Moria, and it was time to pick the second spell from our spellbook, which is Elven Gifts. Hero deal 50% more damage. Always good to have, especially in hero missions like this one, and Moria won't be the last one. Now witness my skills and see how I totally not fail when 2 of my heroes get low and I heal something else. Oh boy, that's gonna be a fun ride. With this totally unavoidable accident out of the way, our heroes wait until they're at full health and then continue their journey. One last stop before the end of the mission comes, when Aragorn finally gets a token and drags us up to level 3. Right before the end, we have our legendary battle against the Balrog, a beast so powerful that even Gandalf trembles in fear. This fight will be legendary, and not just running around in circles until we can use our spell again. Whoops! With the Blitz KO, we defeat the monster, finish the mission, and Gandalf casually walks away. Wait, that's not how I remember it. Oh, right, we're doing Deathless. Alright, gotcha. To mission 2. At the start of mission 2, we can choose between 3 regions to go to. We move to Rohan because it's the most value we can get right now. 20 command points means more troops, and more troops means more damage available. Right out of the gate, we are introduced to the hero Eomer. Eomer is the leader of Rohan for now. Not the region, the people of Rohan. Yeah, it's confusing, you can look it up. He's a mobile cavalry hero and can take some damage before dying, and his health also regenerates out of combat. A perfect fit for a deathless run. His army mostly contains mobile riders, good bowmen, and some peasants for now. Sadly, we can't build up our own army and get 4 Rohirrim battalions, and they cost 15 command points each. Concluding that 15 times 4 is 60 and not 80, I don't know who thinks that, means that we have around 2 battalions to train before we get supply block. Do you think riders are good against infantry? If you guessed yes, then congrats, you can treat yourself with a cookie. But there's always a catch. When riders ride into infantry, they crush them into the ground and inflict damage and stun them. Sadly, they also take damage when they do this. Bonus point for unfortunate game design, because they can also kill themselves with that, which renders them unusable for me. Or so you would think, but more on that later. After several failed attempts, I realized that I need to finish this mission ASAP. Because the longer the mission goes, the more units the AI builds and increases my chances at losing drastically. Rule number 2 states that I have to save my allies whenever possible, so I tried it and instantly lose. Great. Also, there's a soft timer to the early build missions if you don't want to lose anything. Because buildings that produce resources or troops level when they produce. After some time they level up to level 2 and eventually to level 3. That's dangerous, because they get automated turrets on top of them, which fire arrows into my units until they die. One failed run later. I decided it was smart to run my archers into enemies, and surprise, they die. My strategy was a modified speedrun route to win as fast as possible. You just need to take all your riders to the enemy base and destroy it before they build up. So that's what I ended up doing, although I had to maneuver my troops a bit to avoid damage and clear the remaining enemies with Eomer. After destroying their production, the enemy can't produce more units and is now crippled. Normally, you would destroy the last building and finish the mission. I instead opted to take my time and level one of my riders to level 2. Units in BFME can, like heroes, gain experience and level from level 1 to level 10. Each level provides them with more health. That way, if I have to use riders in my army, I at least can try to level them up as much as possible to make them somewhat usable. I save some peasants, even though I don't want to, destroy the last remaining building, and mission 2 is a success. On to mission 3. Mission 3 is a semi-hero mission where you start off as the Fellowship and must get to Lothlorien, while orcs are chasing you. The chase isn't too difficult, keep an eye on your hobbits and the elves you get. After you reach Lothlorien, you'll get control over the elven city and have to defend it. The enemy can theoretically come from 3 bridges that are connected to your base. I sent Aragorn on a solo mission to inspect the sawmills if they are up to code. He reaches the first one and instantly deems it dangerous, because there's an open fire right in the middle. We can't have this sort of fire hazard here. So Aragorn does the only logical thing and smashes it into bits with his sword. What a nice guy! Technically I don't have to save the forest, because they aren't strictly allies yet, but I think we will later encounter some enthusiastic people that would appreciate it. Side missions aside, I let the hobbits stay out of this one, because they are too fragile and immobile. Instead they have to collect money around Lothlorien to finance my troops. You may ask why there's money laying around all over the place. I really tried to come up with a clever joke how the elves need this for something, but I can't for the love of me figure out the reason why you would need to lay your money around in little bits. So beats me. Anyway, at this time the waves of enemy have already trolls in them, and they love to mess up my rounds. They have high health, deal damage in an AoE, and can even pick up their own troops to throw them at me. Why the troll just doesn't pick up a rock from the ground and throws it instead of sacrificing its own troops is an interesting decision to say the least. But again, trolls are not the smartest tool in the shed. Jokes aside, the orc throw ability kills anything it hits instantly, except my heroes, but I can't just move my heroes in front of my elves. You see, the trolls really like to move into my heroes, then ignore them and throw the deadly projectile right into my backline, killing someone instantly and ending a run. To compensate this, I move the units far away at the beginning of an attack, let the heroes kill the trolls, and then send them in as ranged backup. It took me some trial and error, but at the end, I finished the last attack, and the mission ends. Now we have control over Eomer's troops once again, have to decide which territory to claim next. We choose Eastern Rohan because we don't really need more resources, because we aren't allowed to lose units anyway. The mission starts like any other Rohan mission. We get a base, have to build up, and save some peasants on the map. Obviously, I ignore that and try to run straight into the enemy base to cripple them before they build up. Unfortunately, I run into some rescuable peasants and they die again. Okay, we'll have to wait and look for another route into the enemy base. I find one southeast of my base, ride to it, distract the enemy infantry with my hero, and pull them out of their own base. After that, the riders clear the remaining forces, almost die because why not, and severely damage the enemy base. If I wanted, I could now end the mission, but I'll take my time again to build up my forces and level them a bit. I do some shenanigans on the map, mess up a few times and realize, oh my god, the force which I pulled earlier didn't just vanish, instead they're attacking my main base. One emergency evac later and now everything is fine again. I check for the rescuable presence again and they must have moved. How nice of them to make my life easier. I don't think that something bad happened to them at all. Sadly, this wasn't the last group that needed my help. My first instinct how to save them was to ride in and kill all the Uruks before they can even harm them. In theory this works, but sadly my riders are now level 2 and this complicates things. If a battalion ranks up in BFME, it gets a banner carrier at level 2. This unit has less HP, doesn't benefit from armor and damage upgrade, and is always first in line. Great, as if I needed an even less tanky rider to begin with. I instead took my units that were still level 1, upgraded them and tried again with them. After a dozen reloads and suffering, it finally worked. So much for easy missions. At least I can end it now. After this easy Rohan mission, we get back to the Fellowship in Amon Hen. As you can think, a micro hero mission isn't really that hard. Just pay attention to your hobbits, because they are quite fragile. Otherwise, use your ability when the enemy is clumped up and evacuate heroes that get low. You start this mission with Aragorn, Gandalf, Frodo and Sam and must survive an ambush. It doesn't take long to clear the Uruks, and now we get to rescue Legolas and Gimli, but if you ask me, they can handle things on their own. We meet up with them and hear the horn of Gondor. Boromir is in danger and we must hurry. When we get to Boromir, he gets hit by Lurtz and can't move anymore. And I realize almost too late that he deals decent damage and Boromir may actually die if I don't kill him in time. But I got lucky in this one, because he just switches his weapon and target at some point. With this I can easily surround him and finish him off. Thanks buddy. With Boromir saved, I stun the last group of Uruks with Boromir's stun ability and move Frodo and Sam to their boat. A relatively short mission, but a welcome one. With Amon Hen out of the way, we get, like its tradition, a Rohan mission. We choose West Emnet here because an increase in army size is always welcome. This is the first mission where we get a complete base and we don't even use it. Such a shame. The strategy is the same as in the last Rohan mission. Ride forth with your riders, distract the enemies and pull them out of their base and finish it off. The only new thing is that the enemy starts with way more units and most of them are already upgraded. It's basically impossible to fight them head on. It took me some time to practice and figure out how to distract them long enough, but at some point they just ignored my riders attacking their base. Cool! With the base destroyed, we move on to the next mission. What comes after West Emnet? If you answered something other than East, I don't blame you. Middle Earth's geography is hard. We get scaled down again to a smaller base, but that's fine. If we have a smaller base, so does the enemy. That equals less things to worry about. I initially thought that this mission would be the same as the others, but the enemy can build now Walk Riders. Walk Riders have the same movement speed as our riders and can deal extreme damage if upgraded and used correctly. So now I don't only have to kite the enemy's army around the map, I also have to deal with riders that can kill my troops in seconds. Great. I first scout the map again to see where the enemy base is and try to find a way to sneak in. Riding on top of the map along the edge works well enough for the beginning. I just have to dodge some Walk Riders and infantry. After I arrive in the enemy base, I sneak past the big army and try attacking. Sadly, I don't think that I can destroy buildings without pulling something. The winning player was to move with Eomer as a distraction into the back of the base. Use him as a bait and lure the last enemies that were pulled away. Meanwhile, one single rider troop deals massive damage to the base. Unfortunately, it's not enough and I need to evacuate while Eomer is dangerously close to dying. After they are dealt with, I sneak 2 rider groups past while one distracts them. They kill some unupgraded troops, get healed, and finish the base off while I struggle holding the line until they are finished. Fangorn is an interesting mission. You start with only 2 melee riders and 2 ranged rider battalions. At least the ranged one have the fire arrow upgrade, which greatly improve damage. The gimmick of this mission is that every time you destroy a lumber mill, you'll get an Ent. Because we saved the forest in mission 2, they gladly help us out here. Ents are great units. They have high health, deal massive damage and can switch between a ranged and melee mode. The only downside is that they are slow, and I mean really fucking slow. Oh, and obviously they take massive damage from fire. But I can let them tank it for a bit and kill enemies with fire with my ranged troops. I clear some lumber mills, let some Ents guard my camp and take on with my riders while one Ent plays tent the tanky Ent. This works really well until I ride my riders into a troll cave and they die. Whoops! Next try I don't disturb the trolls and clear the lumber mills one by one while my Ents kill entire armies. I occasionally need to cycle through them, heal them up if one is low, and then can continue to get them back into the front line. After some more clearing, the right side of the map is clear and I have enough Ents to crash into the enemy base and take it out. It's a slow process. The Ents tank incoming damage while the bowman riders play backup damage, but eventually I get through. Now it's just clearing up remaining enemies and finish. Oh wait, we forgot Pippin and Merry. I have to save them because they got caught while Pippin was looking for his second breakfast. We saved them and now I realized that I could have called for Eomer's help already. I called him in just for fun and finished the mission. Fangorn was a nice break from the repetitive Rohan missions. This means we immediately have to choose another Rohan region to claim as Eomer. The Eastfold is now our target to again increase our army size. Starting in a big castle means more enemy base to destroy, but at least we can park our troops in base without worrying that they die from random skirmishes. Wouldn't be the first time. I take my riders and Eomer, close the gate and get moving. You know the drill by now. I'll look for the best way to sneak past and distract the enemies long enough. After that, I try to finish their base off. Two things are different though in this mission. First, the enemy now builds towers when I get close. They have to be destroyed before they finish constructing, otherwise one of my units will eventually die. The other quirk of this mission is that in the top left corner is a timer. When it reaches 0, an Isengard army attacks. I don't intend to find out how many Uruks will try to eat me, so I book it into their base and try to kite the guards around. It again took some time and practice, but eventually I prevail. With the Eastfold saved, we have to save yet another Rohan land. This time we move back into Fangorn because my friends, the Tens, need my assistance. Also, the 2 power points are nice to have. The map is really small and we get only outposts. In theory, this should mean it's relatively easy to destroy the enemy, but in reality it's not. It actually complicates things quite a bit. First, I don't have enough place to maneuver around the enemy. Second, I can't leave my base unguarded, otherwise it will be destroyed. Third, I have no place to leave my troops unattended. Nice. So I have to change my plans. Luckily, Gandalf has decided to join us. We pick a specific power from the spellbook to make him even stronger. The initial plan was simple. I defend with my heroes and archers while my Rohirrim attack. After quite some time I couldn't get through the enemies reliably without losing someone at home or while attacking. But after some exploring I found something far more valuable than a route to sneak in. On the top right you can find 2 Ent buddies that will join you when you move near them. With Ents in my arsenal I can slowly let them clear enemy after enemy and outpost after outpost, while Rohan's brave army hides in a corner and hopes for the best. Like last time, it's not a fast process, but a steady one. I walk with my Ents over enemy infantry, clear some buildings, construct a new outpost and heal them up with the healing spring I built in my camps. When it's time to destroy the last enemy base, I try to unlock the fire arrow upgrade from the archery before finishing, to boost my archer's damage. Sadly, you need to build 3 archer battalions to level your archery to level 2 and unlock the fire arrow ability. So we are one short. One quick base deconstruction later and the mission ends. What an fantastic event. Helms Deep, one of the missions I dreaded the most. But let's start at the beginning. Most of you know the legendary battle where Rohan fights for survival. Now we get to play this iconic moment from the Lord of the Rings. At the start you get 10 minutes to build up and ready your forces. After the timer is up, Isengard arrives with a massive army. I only build ranged units because melee is a guaranteed death here. I purchased a fire arrow upgrade for my ranged units. While preparing we get visited by some elves who want to fight besides us. That's actually great news because elven warriors are much more tanky than Rohan bowmen and also can get the same upgrade. So we transition into them. Today the elves will hold Helms Deep for Rohan. I placed the heroes Theoden and Eowyn on the edge of the map because we have to save some peasants that are coming this way. If I don't help them they get killed by warg raiders. Our good king can't let this happen. Most of my troops are placed on top of the wall with heroes sprinkled in between them. This way I can recall wounded troops and let the heroes do the tanking. After 10 minutes, the time is up, and Isengard arrives. It takes some time before they reach me, and I use that time to make some final preparations. Isengard's first wave isn't that hard. I just have to focus fire, and it went mostly smooth. I also have to defend the main gate, which gets attacked a few times. Some well-placed bowmen and elves can handle most of the attacks with the help of Eowyn as a tank. The second wave is where problems arrive. Ladders and crossbow uruks join the attack. I not only have to focus fire the ladders before they can get close, I also have to kill the enemy ranged troops before they can kill anything, which is easier said than done. After some safe scumming, I finally survived the second wave without a loss. The third wave is where it's getting absolutely ridiculous. More ranged units, ladders and even mines. I try to fight them off for a while, but it's a lost cause. I quickly realize that I can't hold the wall any longer. I evacuate most of my army behind the wall. It's close, but they manage to get down. Just before the uruks blow up the wall, my heroes bravely charge in to protect their people. they barely survive either. It's a long and hard-fought battle. After I get down, I instantly lose something and have to reload. Great. After many, and I mean really many reloads later, I finally get the timing right, dispatch the third wave, mostly, and pull my troops back into the castle. I probably should have searched for another way to beat the mission, but I was stubborn. I opened the gates to let my troops in and closed it right behind them. Now the only way in is on the left side, and I can funnel the enemies there and let my heroes do most of the job. Although I have to open the gate one time to destroy some annoying ballista. My heroes dispatch the main force after a while and really deserve their title hero now. Isengard only builds now a trickle of enemies, which is still much, but not enough to overwhelm me anymore. My objective is now to destroy the two camps Isengard has. Eomer and Gandalf could be summoned right now, but the units are not tanky enough to breach the camps. So they are on hold. Heroes it is again. They fight through the trickle of enemies and slowly but surely clear the two camps. All that remains is summoning Gandalf and Eomer, because why not, and cleansing the map of evil. I find a lonely ladder that is patiently waiting for his allies that will never come, kill it, ending the mission. I'm not going to lie, this mission sucked. After the long and hard slog in Helms Deep, we get my favorite mission of the run, the destruction of Isengard. Saruman wasn't the friendliest when it comes to trees, quite on the contrary. He used his lumber mills, which were all safety hazards by the way, to fuel his war efforts. That made the Ents very angry, and after Treebeard discovers this, he seeks revenge. The tree people march against Isengard. Pippin and Merry are also in this for some reason. We all know that Pippin was only looking for something to eat. Let's be clear, Ents are stupidly overpowered, and if you're careful, there's nothing that can kill you easily. Even if one Ent starts burning, you can just move him into a pond of water and he will extinguish himself. I take my sweet time and clear Isengard slowly but steady. I change the Ents to ranged and let them do all the work. At some point Saruman shows up, throws one fireball, and then gets instantly buried under some rocks. Nice try, wizard. Lastly, I also creep the camp with Pippin and Merry, because why not give them some XP. Meanwhile, I begin end production to maximize my damage output, and who knows, maybe we can use them again someday. After there is no more money to be made, I finish my end production and open the dam. The water floods Isengard, killing everything and finishing the Uruks once and for all. With Isengard destroyed, we get control over Gondor in Northern Ithillien. Specifically, the Ithilien Rangers and Captain Faramir. We play a semi-stealth mission where we have to ambush enemy Mordor forces. Faramir and his Rangers have the ability to be invisible while standing near trees. They can wait until the enemy comes close enough and then strike from the shadow to deal the massive damage. My goal is to build as many archers as I can and upgrade them with fire arrows. We make our way stealthily through the camps, destroying them in the process. After we destroy a Mordor base, we get to make camp there and build up. Unfortunately, we have to be fast and ready. Then soon a Haradrim convoy will show up and we have to deal as much damage as possible to it. I place my archers around the place the convoy will take and make ready. The convoy arrives and I realize that it will take some time to focus fire the right targets and evac damage units when needed. Problem here is that the Haradrim archers throw spears for some reason, grade 9 by the way, and deal some good damage. This can easily kill my units in one attack. I also noticed that there is some randomness to the attack of the enemy and my own troops after reloading. Sometimes they will do the same as before, and other times they will walk randomly around. Needless to say, but I managed to get through after some time and almost kill the entire convoy. One last Mordor camp lies between me and victory. I pull my troops into my base, kite the enemy to it, deal damage with my ranged troops while Faramir's bait, and clear them. Now I take all my rangers led by Faramir and my trebuchet, I don't know why stealth archers have one, but they do, and kill everything that is in my path. I finish the last base and the mission ends. After we finish the Haradrim forces in Ithilien, it's time for yet another Rohan mission. At least we can choose our army now. We could use our ranger battalion to clear Kiandros, but honestly I really don't want to creep slowly and save after every skirmish if something bad happens. This means yet another Rohan mission. Yay! I choose Dunharrow for no particular reason. And now, as we all know, we ride forth, distract the main force with a hero, and then dismantle the enemy base. Nothing new to see here. Moving on. After the quick side mission that was Dunharrow, we go to the Westfold because we have to take another overworld mission. Yay! This is the first time that Rohan is facing Mordor, and I immediately realized that this will not be pleasant. At first, the enemy sends a massive attack force straight into my base, which I have to repel, otherwise I lose. After they are dealt with, there's a new problem. Mordor's infantry is not really strong and can't get upgrades except banner carrier and fire arrows, which is not much. But there's always a but. Trolls suck to fight against, and if you don't want to lose anything, especially. Riders deal next to no damage to them and get 2 or 3 shotted. Nice. So, do you know what we have to use to deal with them? Right! Heroes! Who would have thought? Even though heroes are tanky in general, trolls deal massive damage to them, so be careful, otherwise someone will get stomped to death. Sometime later, after I adjusted to fight against Mordor, I breached their base, used a spell to stun them, and cleared. The rest is simple, searching for a little outpost of Mordor, destroying it, and the mission ends. Osgiliath, the city that gets attacked by Mordor, and we must recapture it. Let's start with the premise of this mission. All you get are some scattered forces from a small base and 3 bridges to defend. You're supposed to hold the bridges and defend them while you build up your own forces and then destroy Mordor. Although you can actually drop the bridges and defend your base instead, which is much easier. Unfortunately, there's a small problem. At the start of the mission, we see a cutscene in which we see the 3 bridges being defended by some guards. When the sequence ends, we get control of them. And I mean, all of them instantly, and it does not look good. I mean, it looks really bad. The troops will lose something even if I pull them away the second I get control of them. I tried for hours this section, and only this one. I had to watch the cutscene every goddamn time. I tried fighting, which resulted in losses. I tried fleeing, which made it a bit better, but I still lost every time something. So can you beat The Lord of the Rings, The Battle for Middle Earth, without losing a single unit? Nope, not in Osgiliath. Or can you? I mean, let's look at this from another point of view. So far, we controlled Fellowship, Eomer and Rohan, and Faramir and his troops. This means we are the commander of Faramir, Eomer, and the Fellowship. This means we are not really the commander of Osgiliath until we call Faramir in for help. So technically the troops in Osgiliath are Faramir's allies, not directly our troops. Therefore it's okay to lose something if necessary. At least that's my logic. By the way, I know this is utter bullshit, but let me have this one. Okay, with the allied troops pulled back into our base, we defend there and build up. This takes about an hour. So we wait and wait and wait for more resources. 1 eternity later and we have our army. It consists mostly of rangers and bowmen. I also pushed out for a second base to increase production. After maxing out, I call Faramir in and we get him and his rangers. Now we have a massive 500 supply army with mostly rangers. Nice. Should be easy to clear now, right? Well, no. The initial clearing is in fact simple, but catapults and trolls are dangerous enemies which must be pulled separately and focused before they get too close. Patience is key. Until the Nazgul arrive and make my day even worse. For some reason, Nazguls really like to focus trebuchet and one-shot them. They will even get out of the way to fly into your base, kill something, and then die. This happened on about 20 different occasions until I managed to pull them with Faramir and execute them fast enough. As if this mission wasn't long enough already, for me at least. About 2 hours after I finished my army, I finally destroyed our last base and end this mission. What a ride. With Osgiliath saved, for about an hour, we get to play Sam. We're stranded in Shelobs Lair because Gollum lured us into it and now Frodo is missing. Sam has to find and rescue him, otherwise all will be lost. We start with only Sam and have to fight through dark corridors of pitch black. On our way we can find single soldiers which are trapped in spiderwebs. Of course we rescue them because no one gets left behind and make our way through Shelobs Lair. At the end we meet Shelob herself and have to fight her. I tried fighting her with only Sam, but that's not possible. He will die. But if we let him tank for a bit... By the way, why is he so tanky? I don't mind, but it feels kinda off. Then get in with our soldiers and deal damage, then use Sam's ability to scare Shelob away while our archers shoot her, and then when she returns heal Sam up with our heal ability and finish her off, then we can kill her without a loss. I honestly didn't think this mission would be possible. a pleasant surprise. With Shelob gone, we get to establish an outpost and build up. Some ranged units later, and we are ready to break into Cirith Ungol. That's where Frodo is supposed to be. After slow clearing the entire base, the screen fades to black, and we win. Minas Tirith, the White City of Gondor, the biggest defense mission I know. Let's see how it compares to Helms Deep. The mission starts off the same. We have some time to prepare before Mordor arrives. I mostly build towers and place my archers on top of the wall. Gandalf and Boromir have tanking duty this time around, so they get in front of the gate. Defending isn't that hard in the first few waves. The only problem are archers, and there are a lot of them. I have to kite them around with my heroes and focus fire them with my archers. I also have to recall my wounded troops to a healing fountain, and especially don't forget to put them back into action. Happened to me at least a dozen times. Oops. Problems start to arrive when the Grond approaches, Mordor's biggest gatecracker they've ever built. It deals massive damage to your gate and can destroy it with ease. It also has like 1,000,000 health points, so forget bursting it down. I quickly realized that there's no way I'm holding the gate. I evac my troops behind the gate and let my heroes lead the defense. This works better than I expected, to be honest. With the broken gate, the enemy will just funnel in one place and I can quickly kill everything that gets through this gate. But again, as always, trolls like to make my day miserable. Sometimes they ignore my heroes, dive straight into my archers, die, spin around like a Beyblade for around a minute and kill everything while dying. Great. To negate this, I focus fire with my abilities and archers the trolls. Even though I do this, it still costs me a few reloads before I get this right. Hardrim also joins this battle and sends in troops to support Mordor. Muma kills are the biggest problem here. I have to kill them before they reach my line of defense, otherwise something is guaranteed to get stomped. Luckily I can pull one at a time with Gandalf and this works perfectly. What a surprise. I noticed something strange. Some Muma kills attack my wall, while others try to get into the city. Even though I don't know how this big monster will fit through a gate that's way smaller than it, but I digress. With most of the Haradrim forces eliminated, we could summon Rohan, but I don't need any more firepower and riders aren't that useful right now, so they stay on hold. I defend with our forces until Aragorn arrives with his Oathbreakers. They are the perfect army for a Deathless run. They move fast, are almost invincible, deal massive damage, and this version has a big time limit before they despawn, giving me enough time to end the mission before they despawn. With them in my arsenal, I stomp over the two Mordor camps and finish Minas Tirith without losing a single unit. With Minas Tirith saved, our army marches into the Dead Marshes. Now there are a few missions that separate us from the Black Gate and victory. Dead Marshes is a Mordor mission where I used Rohan as my army and creeped my way slowly but steadily to their base. Actually, I thought it was only one base, but it turns out they had 3. Great. This only prolonged the slog, but it didn't make it more difficult. A relatively long and boring mission. I finished the last base, and we're done here. Now we're in the endgame. Dragoland is the penultimate mission in this campaign, because after we are finished here, we can go to the Black Gate and destroy the One Ring once and for all. There is a small problem though. This map is massive in comparison to earlier missions. First, there are several little outposts which must be destroyed to win. Second, there are a total of 7 bases, which means I have to destroy 6 enemy bases, and I have 1 at the start. Great. So, it prolongs the whole ordeal massively, so long that I play this map for about 2 hours, slowly creeping, with my archers and heroes. It wasn't very exciting. Let's just skip to the Black Gate. We are here, at the end, together, united, one last time. The combined forces of Rohan and Gondor will fight until death to buy Frodo more time to destroy the One Ring. I don't want to lie, this was by far the hardest mission in the run. But let's start at the beginning. First, you get your army. 1 Gondor and 1 Rohan outpost to supply you. Then, you get some time to prepare. After that, Mordor attacks with all they have left. And let me tell you, they have a lot left. Their troops are basically all leveled up to max. Their bowmen have fire arrows. Their trolls are also leveled up. And even their Muma kills. This will be fucking hard. Okay, the plan for the first few waves is simple. I let the heroes take aggro and tank incoming damage while my archers do the heavy lifting. This worked with some patience and practice quite well. One side note, The raged Mordor orcs with fire arrows deal so much damage, it's ridiculous. So be careful with them. They can kill a hero in seconds if left unattended. After the first waves are dealt with, the next problem arrives. Trolls. Many big strong trolls that can easily kill my heroes in 2 or 3 hits. So my strategy from before isn't working. After try and error, the winning play was to move my archers into the back of my base, then use Gandalf to distract the trolls, and go for a walk with them. This bought the others enough time to clear the crown troops. The timing for this was very precise, and at this point I was already at reload number 57. With the troll wave gone, the Haradrims arrive, and with them the Muma kills, which really like to kill my runs. The strategy was basically the same with some minor tweaks. My archers had to kill the Mumakis fast enough before they get too close. After they are dealt with, the last wave arrives, and with it a timer how long I have to distract Mordor until Frodo finishes his mission. This last wave had mostly crowned troops and something far more dangerous. Nazguls. I didn't count them, but my best guess is that there are around 6 or 7 of these monsters. In no world deal my archers enough damage to kill all of them quickly enough before something dies. So I have to be creative. I evacuate my force to the top left and my heroes to the bottom right base. My heroes tank incoming damage until my towers finish the flying bastards. It's close, and I don't think it was pretty, but after several restarts it worked. The Nazguls are dead, the trolls are dead, the Mumakis too. Mordor is broken, and with that the timer slowly expires. Frodo destroys the One Ring, and I win. I fucking win! I've done it! Let's enjoy the last cutscene together. In this campaign I killed a total of 13,412 enemies without a loss, if my math is correct, so take this with a grain of salt. The hero with the most kills is Legolas, and he outclasses Gimli by a lot. Sorry little man, but he wins this one. Éomer completed the most missions with a total of 13, which is really impressive, and killed around 500 units himself. Not bad. My best archer battalion killed alone over 700 units. Oof, that's a lot. Even more when you consider that I built them at Helms Deep. Thank you so much for watching. This is where the video ends. I will ramble about some nonsense now, so feel free to close the video. It took me a really long time to put this together. I know it's rough around the edges, but I wanted to do this for a really long time. BFME is one of my favorite games of all time, and I love watching Deathless run. To my surprise, there wasn't anyone who did this prior to me, or at least not to my knowledge. So I thought to myself, why not do it yourself? My biggest source of inspiration was the YouTuber named Giant Grand Games. Big shout out to him. I think his content is so well made, and I hope that I could at least kinda replicate that quality. Especially my girlfriend, who always supports me no matter what. I love you. If you have any suggestions what video I can do next, please let me know. Thanks again. Feel free to critique and criticize everything you see. Keep in mind that this is my very first video and I didn't have any knowledge prior to making this video. Okay guys, stay healthy, be nice to each other, enjoy life and game on.